Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. Today we are going to be doing an updated Series 10 restricted tier list. So we're going to be going through every single restricted, kind of explaining to you guys why something's good, why something's not, and then we'll work through it from there. If you guys haven't already, make sure to check out the Patreon where you guys can see a bunch of teams that I post there, including the teams I use for actual tournaments. Also, you guys just get access to a bunch of extra teams with EVs that I show in the videos, so super awesome resource that you guys can take advantage of. And if you guys haven't already, make sure to check out coaching. That link will also be in the description as well. If you guys would like to support me beyond the videos, make sure to check that out. Also, too, make sure to like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Thank you guys for all support on the videos as always. And yeah, we're going to be breaking down the tier list. So we start out with our get in the bag tier. I already put these two in here because like that's kind of guaranteed. Honestly, this looks more like a necklace than it does like a get in the bag kind of thing. So I guess you would put that in the bag too because you wouldn't want it to get robbed, right? Anyways, so that's fine. But now we're going to get into the, what's it called? Now we're going to get into the rest of restricted. So Mewtwo, I'm going to actually put it into not so great options. From having used it in the restricted Iron Man challenge, Mewtwo actually was like fine. It's obviously like inferior to Calyrex, but you at least get like a strong psychic type, and like realistically like it's fine enough, you know. So it's like a not so great, like it could be worse, right? It's not like the worst of the worst, it's definitely not the best of the best, but yeah, I'd say it's average. Then we have Lugia. So Lugia is pretty bad, but do I think it's pretty trash bad? Like, no. I think it's like, I just think it's not so great, right? It's pretty bad, but like it's not like that bad. So we're gonna put Lugia there. I think it's like low tier. The only thing I've really seen work with it is like, I think it was like Rillaboom Drifblim, Baton Pass Drifblim with, yeah, it was Baton Pass Drifblim with Grassy Seed and Invasion Boost with Minimize. And then they Baton Pass that after they minimized a couple times onto the Lugia, then spam Calm Mind. I can see that like maybe working, but it's obviously a little gimmicky, right? So it's probably not going to be the best option. Baton Pass stuff in general hasn't really been a thing in VGC for a bit, so would be kind of interesting to see, I guess, it do well, which I don't think it will, but yeah. So just so you guys know, I'm going to be giving a little bit more of reasonings depending on how common the mons are. Like, obviously for stuff like Mewtwo, Lugia, they're not used that often, so I don't really have to elaborate too much on it, but Mewtwo also kind of sucks because, you know, you have a lot of ghost types, specifically Lunala and Calyrex that are viable, and Yveltal is still kind of around, so it's not the best into it. So now we can go into Ho-Oh. So Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is pretty bad. I would put it honestly in like average if I didn't think it was really outclassed right now. Like I probably would have put it in average before. I think it's actually worse than average now. The main issue with Ho-Oh is Urshifu water is everywhere, and if you want to protect it from Urshifu water, you have to use Gastrodon. Now, I don't need to tell you why Gastrodon isn't really the best mon ever. It's not so great in this format because of the power level. Also, it doesn't really do too much. Another issue too that Ho-Oh has is very easy to intimidate, and there's a lot of intimidate spam in this format, specifically Landorus, Therian, what's it called? Just you have, I think, Incineroar, and then you have Gyarados now that's popping up a lot, right? Gyarados is like a sleeper mon that's been popping up a lot more in competitive now and being used a lot more. So yeah, it's just really disruptive to these kind of teams with Ho-Oh. So it's just really problematic. And Gyarados also has Power Whip, which is even worse because like you kill the Gastrodon and then you also have something for the Ho-Oh after, right? So then we're going to go to the Kyogre. So Kyogre, I'd say actually is like good. I might put it in best. It's like weird. Honestly, it's gotten a little bit down for me in terms of how good I think it is. I think it's actually a little bit worse than people are giving it credit for. The ones I really feel like deserve to be the best options are like, you know, kind of like it's shifted a lot actually. So I'd say Kyogre isn't good. I think it has a lot of good teams around it. Do I think it's the best restricted? No. Do I think it has a lot of cool things it can do? Yes. So its partners are really what make Kyogre good. So specifically what we've seen with the new Kyogre teams is running stuff like Weavile. Even I've used a team with Weavile. And take advantage of Serena next to it to really make it good, right? So that's the main thing that really kind of carries Kyogre forward. We look over here. Groudon is kind of in the same boat as Kyogre. It's like kind of a, I would say it's kind of equal to its parts, right? So it kind of needs like good contributing mons to really help it out. Cherrim Entei was good for a while, but that's fallen off a little bit. Now Groudon typically just pairs with Entei. I would put it either in high average or low good. I think I'm going to keep it in good just because I do think it's like a little bit better than majority of the other restricteds, and we're kind of doing this as like valuing it compared to the other restricteds, right? Like I probably wouldn't feel comfortable putting in average just because I think it's like kind of popped up a little bit more in popularity. Next mon, Rayquaza. So Rayquaza, I actually... like, I think it's bad, or not bad, but I just don't think it's very good, but, like, I actually think it's a little bit better than Ho-Oh, and here's the reasoning why. I think it actually can do something into, like, weather. The problem is that it loses Zacian and Xerneas, which is, like, is not good. Like, that's, like, really, really bad. But I do think that Rayquaza is, like, better into the format than, like, these three. I'd say Ho-Oh and Rayquaza are honestly kind of equal. I'll maybe give Ho the benefit of the doubt and put it... Nah, I'm gonna put Rayquaza ahead, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna put Rayquaza ahead. But even then, like, I'd probably put them, like, equated to each other, I think. I think they're on pretty much the same area of, like, where they are. Next thing, Dialga. Dialga's really bad. I didn't expect it to be as bad as it is, but it's really bad, this format. Honestly, yeah, I'd put it, like, in between Ho-Oh and Mewtwo. I think the problem that it has is Landorus Eyes everywhere. You have stuff like Zacian that even carries close combat, so it doesn't even get the benefit of, like, even neutrally being able to take Zacian hits. Calyrex Shadow tears it apart because it has to sit there in Trick Room, and it's, like, it has an okay special defense, but, like, you're just eating a hit for no reason. I don't even think I need to keep going on. Like, Xerneas can set up in front of it and beat it. It loses to any restricted that's, like, half decent, to be honest. So, it's rough. Palkia is much better. Its counterpart, like, it's so much better. But, yeah, Dialga itself is not so hot. We have Palkia. Palkia's average. I know some people think it's, like, good, but I actually don't think so. I think it's honestly average. Like... The problem with Palkia is that it matches up really good into Kyogre, really questionably now into Groudon builds. It also matches up really poorly, in my opinion, to Zacian that is built to at least deal with the Trick Room mode. And then it kind of matches up poorly in the Xerneas. Like, it relies on the Stack Attack next to it, but then if that's what it's relying on, it can be any restricted, right? For a similar case, Yveltal's probably gonna be in this tier as well, which I'm gonna get to. But yeah, I mean, it matches up into one of the good mons in the meta. It matches up, like, okay into some of the other mons, but, like, realistically, is it the best? Not so much. It's like okay, like, it'll do fine. Next one, Giratina Origin. So I actually think Giratina Origin deserves the average rating. Do I think Giratina is bad? Yes. Is it outclassed by two other ghosts? Yes, but is it like Rayquaza, Ho-Oh, Giratina, or not Giratina? What's it called? Dialga level bad? No. I think it has some nice things. So the main thing that I actually appreciate about Giratina that I think I didn't earlier was because of Levitate and because of its typing, Rillaboom, Urshifu, Landorus Eye, and Regieleki all cannot touch it, and it beats Stack Attack because of Earth Power. So that's actually, like, really cool. The problem is that Lunala and Calyrex exist, which is a problem. And then you have, obviously, Dragon, like, Fairy coverage with Zacian and then Fairy coverage with Xerneas. So, kind of also has to rely on its partners to do good. So, it's kind of in the same boat as Palkia there. I think the main difference is that Giratina actually has some merit into a lot of different cores, whereas Palkia is more centered around Trick Room. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing there. Giratina, I'm just gonna put in it's literally the inferior form. So just use the better form. I think Origin form is just better. So that's why I'm gonna put in there. Also, it kind of matches with it, which is nice. Similar thing though. I mean, like, I guess it's not like, it's not like pretty trash. Okay, maybe that's a little too harsh, right? Like, I'll put it like here. There's no reason to use it. There's no reason to use it over Origin, but it's like not the worst, right? I guess maybe if you were running leftovers next to Rillaboom or something, but you just use this form. Reshiram. So Reshiram is something I actually think is average. I just don't think anyone's found the right build for it yet. So I'm actually gonna put that in average, right? Like, so with its fire coverage, it should theoretically be really good in the Zacian. Versus Kyogre, you have Rillaboom, you have other things that deal with it kind of properly. Groudon, you actually get the Sun Boost, so you can deal a lot of damage with your fire moves. And then it matches well into most of the other dragons, right? So assuming you're running like Assault Vest or something on it. So you can actually take hits pretty decently. Where I think that it struggles is versus the common like ground and rock bonds. So stack attack is really difficult for it. I know it can earth power it, but like if Trick Room's up, stack attack is actually really threatening. Into opposing dragons, it's kind of equal, so it's like whatever. Into Groudon, like I said, it is good in Sun for dealing damage, but if Groudon lives or like gets the opportunity to blades you, like that's pretty bad. Kyogre too, you kind of rely on your partners, right? So your partners are kind of carrying the work there. The main reason why I think it's carried into average is just because it matches up fine into Zacian, Zern, and I even say Calyrex, it can like deal with it decently. Although Calyrex, you need something else to deal with it at the same time, right? So that's pretty much the main thing there. So then we're going to go into Zekrom. So Zekrom I'd actually probably put into average or not so great. So we haven't seen any Zekrom in this format, just to clarify. The main reasoning why is just because Zacian and Xerneas are so prevalent, and with Playref, you know, being everywhere, like Zekrom really struggles. So I'm actually going to probably put that in not so great options, to be honest. It's just really weak to Double Intimidate. It's just really weak to Zacian, Zern. It's just weak to like a lot of these good restricteds, right? So it's just really problematic. Kieran Black, same boat, I'd say. I literally think it's like the same boat. I actually would argue Zekrom's a little bit better than Kieran Black, but you don't see too many people really using like Kieran or what's it called, Zekrom. So it's like kind of difficult to say, but they're kind of in the same boat. I'd say Kieran's typing's even worse actually, because you kind of get smashed by Zacian on two fronts, especially the Behemoth Blade and just steel types in general, right? Like, why do you want to be weak to Sakataka? Like, at least Zekrom has the benefit of not being weak to like Sakataka, right? So then we have Kieran White. So Kieran White, I'm actually going to put an average. If you guys don't know, Bingji, he's a really good Chinese player. He has done incredibly well in previous formats. He's actually placed pretty high with his team. I think he got like number 9 on ladder or something. So it was something ridiculous. And like banned Scizor. So this one has done decent enough. Like, I can see why it would be okay. I like into Zacian, obviously. I would have Zacian and Xerneas, I would imagine, is dreadful, right? And Calyrex too, actually. Yeah, I mean, it gets freeze dry, so it gets to hit like Kyogre, it can hit Palkia, it can hit what's it called, Reshi, Giratina, it can hit Groudon really hard, so I guess that's like fine. It can also ruin Urshifus, it can ruin what's it called, Landorus Eye, it can ruin Regieleki. So like I said, kind of like the Giratina effect, you're hitting a lot of mons that the format kind of holds around, right? So it's kind of a nice thing. Also, you get earth power to like snipe stuff, so kind of nice. Yeah, Kyurem's trash. Don't use Kyurem. Xerneas. So originally, I actually probably would have put Xerneas in the best options thing. I actually want to put it down in good. So actually, I wish there was like an in-between tier, but then the tier list would just be kind of ridiculous. I actually kind of want to put it in best option. So it's the best option if you're like very consistent and you know how to position Xerneas. I know that sounds really like dumb. Like, of course, aren't you going to want to position anything? But like, it requires a lot of positioning and patience. And over a course of a tournament run, that can be really difficult to keep up, right? So that's why I'm just keeping that in consideration here. So I'd say Xerneas is pretty good. I like, as long as you have the patience and you have the ability to kind of focus and play it, I'd say it's pretty solid, right? And I think that it has established itself as always one of the best restricteds in formats where like you don't have a Dynamax, right? Like, it's just super good, and its ability to set up Geomancy, Sweep of Moonblast, just very desirable. So Yveltal, this hurts me. It's my favorite mon. I don't think it's very good. I think it's like Palkia, Kieran, this level. Here's the issue: when you have such strong power levels in a format like this, and you rely on Dark Aura damage, right? And like kind of snarling, chipping things down. It's not that it's necessarily a bad mon as a whole. It's just, it struggles to set a bigger niche for itself as opposed to other mons. So for those of you in chat who are going to be like, well, why wouldn't you just use Mandibuzz instead of Yveltal? It's the same thing. It's not the same thing, guys, okay? Don't say that. That's like number 1 way to make yourself look bad in a conversation. Yveltal has Dark Aura. It offers a better... It serves its role better than Mandibuzz or another dark type like Moltres would, right? The issue is that in a one restricted format, you usually want your restricted to have a very strong power level behind it to where it can do damage. And even something like Giratina has more relevant coverage and damage into a lot of the format. And I know that sounds ridiculous, right? But like Draco Meteor, Shadow Ball, Earth Power, and then like you obviously run Protector, whatever. That hits a lot of mons in the format, and because of its Gracious Orb, it can actually like deal a lot of damage. Now Yveltal, yes, it has Dark and it has Flying coverage, but if you look at a lot of mons in the format, it's kind of checked a little heavily, right? Like specifically, what I'm more so thinking of is like Zern and Zacian, and this is from someone who's used Yveltal for a long time. Usually Yveltal wants a really strong partner that's going to be carrying its strength, like carrying its kind of a little more passive nature, basically, and having more explosive options to kind of support the Mon, right? So, for example, in 2019, when I used this Mon, I had a bunch of tools to kind of better how it was kind of doing damage, right? So you had like Tapunium Z, which was basically cut HP to 75%. You could foul play, follow up on that did a lot of damage, right? You had Groudon, which can, like, Earth Power, Eruption next to it, have a bunch of power. That's, like, really difficult in this format because, like, nothing can really match up to the offense that, like, Eternatus, Xerneas, Kyogre, Groudon, like, all these mons put forward in the thing. So, it's not that it's necessarily a bad mon as a whole. I just think it struggles a little bit because of the new additions and how strong of a power level these mons have, right? But, yeah. Long story short, do I think it's solid enough? Yes. I think you can run it. The standard builds I've seen have been like Incineroar, Yveltal, Landorus, Amoonguss, and then filler. A Sack Attack usually you need next to it, but I think it does struggle a little bit in the current format to really set itself apart, right? Then we have Zygarde, right? So Zygarde is on the not so great option. So I thought this mon could actually be average. Upon playing it on ladder and 1,000 arrows doing, I think it was 30% to my stack attack with no intimidate drops, I changed my mind. It really struggles to get going, and there's so many more things that can do damage like really fast, and Zygarde does not compete. You'd probably run it next to like Finny or something, like heal it up and like go for coils, but I don't think it's on the quality level of like the other restricted because of the lack of immediate offense, right? We go over here. So for Solgaleo also goes on the not so great options to actually honestly I put on average. The only reason why I think it's average is because I think it's a little bit better than Duskmane. It's like a strong steel type that can actually put on some pressure with like Flare Blitz, Superpower, Sunsteel. That actually hits a lot of mons in the format. Flare Blitz specifically hitting into Amoonguss, hitting into Rillaboom, and hitting into Zacian, right? So it actually gives you some kind of cool options that way. Now, the main problems you're going to have is that primarily you're going to struggle with breaking the other restricteds, right? So Kyogre, it's pretty good in the U. Groudon's pretty good in the U. Calyrex pretty good in the U. Lunala's pretty good in the U, etc., etc. Pretty much that's going to be your issue, right? Duskmane, I'm going to also put in the average options. I kind of want to put in not so great. It's like kind of in between. I'll actually put in not so great. Intimidate, that's all I have to say. It literally will get Intimidate spam the high hell, and like even if you're swords dancing with it, it's just gonna get parting shot over and over again. I have played so many Necrozmas on ladder that are trying to do well. Literally, I will sit there with Incineroar and just consistently parting shot them, and there's nothing they can do. Even when they have a Milotic, if a good player prioritizes like the Milotic or the other thing to prevent the boosting, it's really bad. The only good use I've seen of it was Necrozma next to Room Service Zapdos, and they set Trick Room with the Necrozma, called the parting shot, I think, onto one slot, swapped in the Zapdos, boosted the Zapdos, and then it had Room Service, so obviously it undersped and like swept everything. But even that's like a little gimmicky, right? And like once your opponent knows about it, like it's not going to be as good. But that is one thing I think I've seen with it. You need a defined competitive mon with it almost always, I think, to make it good. So one thing that I think one mon that I actually think has surprised me a little bit and kind of popped up a little more in usage. Honestly, I put this in between best options or good options. I think it's honestly in the good tier. Lunala is really good. Its ability to Moongeist Beam and Meteor Beam is actually really helpful, and a bulky Trick Room mon that can set Trick Room for stuff like Stack Attack in the format's incredibly useful. It's also like there's very little resist to its ghost coverage, similar to Calyrex, honestly. It's able to like fire off these hits without being really resisted. And the one thing that I think it does a little bit nicer than Calyrex Shadow is basically how it has something to actually hit Incineroar. I actually want to I'm gonna put it in best. I think it's just incredibly good, and I think it offers a lot to a team. If I were to try and invest into building anything new from what I've been building, I would actually probably be looking into Lunala. I think it's incredibly good right now. So then we can go into Lunala, or I guess Dawn Wings Necrozma, I think it is. I'm also gonna put this in the not so great options. It's had like 1 or 2 appearances on like Lil against Sun. I've seen it in World Cup, but it's not that great. And then Necrozma normal form is like pretty trash. The problem with Dawn Wings, so it is slower than Lunala, which is nice, but like it doesn't even have a good of an ability as Lunala, and also it struggles to it's like the same thing as Necrozma. It has nothing to really break Incineroar. This, I think it runs Photon Geyser, Moongeist. It does get Earth Power, but it's not really that strong. So Incineroar can kind of just sit in front of you and just parting shot you. And also because there's no I think if Ultra Necrozma honestly was in this game, it would actually be a little like more interesting and like intriguing to see, right? But yeah. Zacian obviously is going to be one of the best options. Zacian has consistently been one of the better mons in the format. If you're aiming for consistency, I'd say use this mon. I will say I will put it behind Lunala and Xerneas. The main reason why I think this is because so many people are prepared for Zacian to where I don't think Zacian is going to be winning that many tournaments. Sounds weird. It makes sense the more you play the format. Like, a lot of teams have counterplay, but it can win in a lot of cases just because it's so good. I actually put it above Lunala because I think that's a little sinful. But I think Xerneas is something people are more prone to lose to than Zacian, mostly because a lot of people have Zacian answers. Eternatus. So I think this mon's actually in the good tier. I think it actually has some really cool things that it can do. And it can put on a lot of pressure. I just realized this thing, like, some shit, it, like, disappears. Anyways, but, like, yeah, it's really good. Power Herb Meteor Beam stuff is super good on Eternatus. Also, Life Orb Dynamax Cannon's really good. It has a lot of... Its coverage is really good all around. That's basically all there is to say about it. Its coverage is just incredibly good. It hits a lot of things. Flamethrower for Zacian, Sludge Bomb for Zern, Resist Kyogre. You can Sludge Bomb it for some damage. Even in the Groudon, you have Dynamax Cannon, it hurts it. Dynamax Cannon destroys this, destroys this, destroys this, destroys this. Flamethrower hits this. Like, it has coverage for everything. Power Herb Meteor Beam hits this. Like, it has a lot of good coverage that can hit a lot of mons, right? And its typing's actually really good for that. Being neutral to Xerneas is helpful. Being, like, neutral to everything Zacian has is fine. And then, yeah, its only weakness is Calyrex. As a lot of mons, to be honest. But, yeah. Calyrex baby form is going to be there. Calyrex like dad form. It's like Calyrex dad form. That's what we'll call it. By the way, question of the day, or rather things for you to say in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about this list and kind of how you guys feel about the restricted tier list, what you guys would change, and yeah. Zamazenta, I'm going to put it in... It's like... not so great, but like like I don't want to violate it and put in the same thing as Duskbane here, because like it at least can do something. It's like obviously way worse than Zacian. However, there was one team that got into top 30 on ranked battles with it. Also too, I mean, fighting steel coverage is like decent enough. Is it better than Zacian? Absolutely not. Like, if you're thinking between the two, just use it. But we're trying to rate it in terms of like comparing it to all the other options. I think it's like average. Calyrex Ice, I actually think is kind of ascended to being a good option. I actually think it hits a lot of helpful things in the format right now, and I think it can be really, really solid in terms of what it does. Calyrex Shadow. So this may seem as a surprise to you guys, or may look as a surprise to you guys, but I actually think it's in good and not best. A lot of people have answers to Calyrex now. You will probably be able to win on ladder with it a bunch because people are dumb and they don't prepare for it, but I'd say most players in tournament settings are prepared for Calyrex, and its lines are a little bit linear. So the team's complexity is a little bit limited, right? Calyrex, you can kind of pair it with anything, and it's like fine because it's mostly centered on offense. I'd say it really struggles into teams that have a solid way of kind of drawing out offense and positioning, right? So that's the main thing. But yeah, so this is the updated restricted tier list. I know it looks maybe a little bit different, especially in like this area to what you would expect. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment. If you guys haven't already, make sure to check out coaching and make sure to support me on the Patreon. I incredibly appreciate it as always, guys, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.